Emily Matthews straightened her designer blazer, her manicured fingers trailing over the sleek fabric as she gazed at her reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows of her corner office. Downtown San Francisco sprawled beneath her, a testament to the decade she'd spent clawing her way up from junior associate to becoming one of the youngest partners at Morrison & Sterling. At 34, she had everything she'd ever wanted, almost. The weight of the 2.5-carat engagement ring on her finger caught the late afternoon sun, sending prismatic reflections dancing across her case files. In exactly 1 week, she would marry Josh Crawford, the brilliant mind behind TechVault, Silicon Valley's latest unicorn startup. The thought brought a smile to her face, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Ms. Matthews?" Her assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "There's a courier here with a package requiring your signature." Emily frowned. "I'm not expecting anything, Sarah." "Who's it from?" "No sender listed. It's marked personal and confidential." Something about the timing made Emily's skin prickle. After 15 years of practicing corporate law, she'd learned to trust her instincts. "Send it in." The package was a simple manila envelope, unremarkable except for the weight of it. Emily waited until her office door clicked shut before sliding her letter opener beneath the seal. The contents spilled across her mahogany desk: bank statements, text message screenshots, and a handwritten letter on expensive stationery. "Dear Ms. Matthews," she read aloud, her voice barely a whisper. "Before you commit to spending your life with Josh Crawford, there are things you need to know. 3 years ago, he didn't just break my heart, he stole my future." Emily's hands trembled as she sorted through the documents. Transfer records showed multiple payments totaling $850,000 from an account belonging to Rebecca Chen to Josh's personal account, followed by the incorporation papers for TechVault dated 2 weeks later. Screenshots of text messages painted a devastating picture: Josh promising to pay Rebecca back, swearing their startup would make them both rich, then gradually becoming distant and eventually hostile. The final message made Emily's blood run cold: "You signed everything over willingly, Becca. Try to come after me, and my lawyers will bury you. You should be thanking me, your money's worth 10 times what it was now. Too bad you're not around to enjoy it." Emily sank into her chair, legal training kicking in as she analyzed the evidence. The documents appeared genuine, though they'd need verification. But it was the letter's final paragraph that kept drawing her eyes back. "I'm not seeking revenge or money. I've rebuilt my life and moved on. But I've seen how he looks at you during charity galas, the same way he looked at me. I've heard him brag about marrying a partner at Morrison & Sterling, about all the doors it will open. You deserve to know the truth about the man you're about to marry." The sun had set by the time Emily finished reading everything twice. Her phone buzzed, a text from Josh: "Dinner at Gary Danko tonight? Celebrating the Series B funding. Great news to share." Emily stared at his message, remembering all the times he'd insisted on separate accounts even after their engagement, his vague explanations about TechVault's early funding, the way he deflected questions about his past relationships. The Josh she knew was brilliant, charming, ambitious, everything she'd wanted in a partner. But hadn't Rebecca probably thought the same thing? She picked up her phone, thumbs hovering over the keyboard. A response formed in her mind: "Can't wait to hear all about it." Better to play along until she knew more. After all, any good lawyer knows you don't show your cards until you have an airtight case. As Emily gathered her things to leave, Sarah appeared in her doorway. "Mr. Crawford's driver is waiting downstairs." "Thank you, Sarah." Emily slipped the envelope into her briefcase, her mind already formulating a plan. "Oh, and could you clear my morning tomorrow? There's someone I need to meet." Rebecca Chen's LinkedIn profile was already open on Emily's phone. Current position: Senior Product Manager at a competing tech firm. Emily's finger hovered over the message button. One click, and there would be no turning back. The truth about Josh was waiting, but was she ready to face it? The elevator doors closed with a soft chime, and Emily made her decision. Better to know now than spend a lifetime wondering. Besides, she hadn't become the youngest partner in her firm's history by running from uncomfortable truths. As the elevator descended, she began composing her message to Rebecca, unaware that she was about to uncover far more than just a stolen startup. The upscale coffee shop buzzed with Silicon Valley's usual morning crowd, startup founders pitching to venture capitalists, engineers debating algorithms over artisanal lattes. Emily sat in a corner booth, her untouched cappuccino growing cold as she watched Rebecca Chin approach. The woman was striking in an understated way, wearing a simple black turtleneck that could have been picked out by Steve Jobs himself. "I wasn't sure you'd want to meet," Rebecca said, sliding into the booth. Her voice carried a quiet confidence that surprised Emily. This wasn't the bitter ex-girlfriend she'd half expected. "The documents you sent were concerning." Emily kept her tone neutral, years of deposition experience kicking in. "Though I'm curious why you waited until a week before my wedding to share them." Rebecca's laugh held no humor. "I debated for months whether to tell you. But last week, I overheard Josh at Serpentine, bragging to his friends about marrying into Morrison and Sterling. He said, and I quote, 'This time next year, I'll be set for life.'" Emily's chest tightened, but her face remained impassive. "Tell me everything." For the next hour, Rebecca painted a picture that made Emily's stomach churn. She and Josh had met at a startup accelerator where she was a mentor. He'd charmed her with his vision for a revolutionary security platform. Their relationship moved fast. Within months, they were living together, and she was investing her life savings in their shared dream. The red flags were there, Rebecca admitted, stirring her tea. "He always had excuses for why my name couldn't be on the incorporation papers. Technical issues with the lawyers, temporary arrangements that would be fixed later. By the time I realized what was happening, he'd already pushed me out completely." "But you never took legal action." "I tried. 3 different law firms told me the same thing, everything was technically legal. I'd signed all the right papers, made the transfers willingly. It would be my word against his, and he had a team of lawyers ready to bury me in litigation until I ran out of money." Emily's mind raced through potential legal strategies, old cases that might set precedent. There could be ways. "I'm not looking for justice anymore," Rebecca cut in. "I rebuilt my career. I'm doing well. But when I saw your engagement announcement..." She reached into her bag and pulled out a phone, not a latest model iPhone like the one sitting on the table, but an older device. "I kept this as a reminder. You should see the rest of his messages." Emily's hand shook slightly as she took the phone. The messages went back 3 years, telling a story that made her legal training scream in protest and her heart break in sympathy. Josh's transformation from loving partner to calculating manipulator was documented in excruciating detail. "The passcode is 0519, Rebecca said quietly. "I suggest you look at the hidden folder too." As Emily navigated through the phone, a text notification popped up on her own device. "Josh, missing you already. Dinner was amazing last night. You looked stunning in that dress, can't wait to see you in white." "He sent me almost the exact same message," Rebecca murmured, watching Emily's expression. "Right before he dash." She stopped as Emily opened the hidden folder. There were more screenshots, bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts, emails discussing shell companies, and most damning of all, messages to someone named Melissa about how the same playbook was working perfectly with his new target. "Who's Melissa?" Emily's voice was barely a whisper. "That's what I wanted to tell you." Rebecca pulled out her tablet and opened her banking app. "These transfers. They're still happening. Monthly payments from an account linked to TechVault, managed by Melissa Porter. She's listed as a marketing consultant, but..." Emily's legal mind connected the dots instantly. Money laundering. Securities fraud. The kind of white-collar crimes that had made her career, now sitting in her personal life like a ticking bomb. Her phone buzzed again. Josh, quick meeting with investors. Then thought we could do lunch. Need to discuss some changes to the prenup, nothing major, just standard startup protection stuff. Rebecca watched Emily's face carefully. You're not going to confront him, are you? No. Emily's voice had found its strength again. First, I'm going to do what any good lawyer does, gather evidence. Be careful, Rebecca warned. When I threatened to expose him, things got uncomfortable. And I've seen him at industry events, always with ambitious women who look like they have something to offer his next venture. As if on cue, Emily's phone lit up with another message. Not from Josh this time, but from Ryan Thompson, his best friend and best man. Hey Em, got a minute? Need to talk about Josh's bachelor party. Something feels off. Emily stared at the message, pieces of a larger puzzle starting to form in her mind. Thank you for meeting me, she said to Rebecca, standing. I may need to contact you again. You know where to find me. Rebecca's eyes held a mixture of sympathy and warning. Just remember, he's not just after your money. He wants your connections, your firm's client list, everything you've spent your career building. Outside the coffee shop, Emily pulled out her phone again. The prenup meeting could wait. First, she needed to have a conversation with Ryan. If Josh's best friend was having doubts a week before the wedding, there had to be a reason. She dialed Ryan's number, her lawyer's instincts telling her she was about to uncover something bigger than a stolen startup. As the phone rang, she caught her reflection in a store window. The woman staring back at her wasn't just a bride-to-be anymore, she was a prosecutor building a case. And Josh Crawford had no idea what was coming. The hotel bar at the Four Seasons was exactly the kind of place where business deals were made and secrets were spilled. Emily chose it carefully, neutral territory, but with enough privacy for a candid conversation. Ryan Thompson arrived 15 minutes early, another detail that set off Emily's internal alarm bells. In the 3 years she'd known him, Ryan had never been early to anything. Thanks for meeting me, he said, sliding onto the barstool beside her. His usual easy confidence seemed strained. I ordered a whiskey neat. Want one? I'll stick with club soda. Emily studied his reflection in the mirror behind the bar. What's going on with Josh's bachelor party that has you concerned? Ryan took a long sip before answering. It's not about the party. That's just what I told him I wanted to talk to you about. He pulled out his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. Look, before I show you this, you have to understand, Josh has been my best friend since college. We built our first failed startup together. I thought I knew everything about him. Emily's pulse quickened, but her voice remained steady. What changed? Last week, I overheard him on the phone in his office. He thought everyone had left for the day, but I was working late on the Series B paperwork. Ryan's hand shook slightly as he pulled up his phone's voice recorder. I know it was wrong to record him, but, you need to hear this. The audio was slightly muffled, but Josh's voice came through clearly. Everything's on track, baby. Emily doesn't suspect a thing. Yes, I know it's been hard keeping us a secret, but think about the payoff. Her client list alone is worth millions. No, the prenup won't be a problem. I've got my lawyers adding some special clauses. Trust me, Melissa, this time next year, we'll be running this town. Emily's hands clenched around her glass, but her face betrayed nothing. There's more, isn't there? Ryan nodded grimly. I started digging. That Series B funding Josh is so proud of. Half of it is coming through shell companies I can't trace. And Melissa Porter isn't just his side piece, she's been on TechVault's payroll since before the company even existed. Rebecca mentioned her, Emily said quietly, watching Ryan's reaction. His eyes widened. You've talked to Rebecca? Josh told everyone she was a crazy ex who tried to sabotage the company. She showed me proof that he stole her startup capital. Emily took out her own phone, pulling up the documents. What I don't understand is why you're telling me this now. You've clearly known something was wrong for a while. Ryan's face flushed with shame. I convinced myself it wasn't my business. That maybe I was misinterpreting things. But last night. He pulled up another recording. Listen. Josh's voice again, this time slightly slurred. Ryan, my man, you worry too much. Everything's under control. Once I'm married to Emily, her firm's clients become my clients. Do you know how many tech companies they represent? How much inside information flows through Morrison and Sterling? And Emily, she's so trusting, so eager to believe in love after all those years focused on her career. It's almost too easy. The recording continued, each word feeling like a physical blow, but Emily forced herself to listen. Josh detailed his plans, how he'd use Emily's position to gain access to confidential information about competing tech companies, how Melissa would help him leverage that information through strategic investments, how the prenup changes would leave Emily vulnerable if she ever caught on. He's not just planning to steal from you, Ryan said quietly. He's setting up an insider trading operation using your firm's client information. If it works, he makes millions. If he gets caught, I lose everything, Emily finished. My career, my reputation, possibly even my law license. She turned to face Ryan fully. Why should I trust you? You've been his friend for years. This could be another manipulation. Ryan pulled out a USB drive. Because I copied everything. All the shell company documents, the recordings, emails between Josh and Melissa going back 2 years. I'm giving it all to you because. He hesitated, then plunged ahead. Because watching him destroy someone like you is something I can't live with. You're brilliant, Emily. Passionate. Real. Everything he pretends to be but isn't. Their eyes met in the bar mirror, and Emily saw something there that made her breath catch, not just guilt or friendship, but something deeper, something that had been carefully hidden. Help me take him down, she said softly. Not just for me, but for Rebecca, and any other woman he's planning to use. Ryan's hand covered hers on the bar, warm and steady. Tell me what you need. As Emily began outlining her plan, her phone buzzed. Josh, hey beautiful, where are you? Thought we were meeting to discuss the prenup. Don't want any nasty surprises before the big day. Emily smiled grimly as she typed her response, sorry, running late at the office. How about dinner tomorrow? I have some suggestions for the prenup too. She turned back to Ryan, her mind already racing through strategies. First, we need to find Melissa Porter. The real Melissa Porter, not whatever alias she's using now. Something tells me she's more than just Josh's accomplice. Ryan pulled out his laptop. I might know where to start. Last week, Josh had a lunch meeting at the Ritz. He said it was with investors, but he pulled up a security camera still shot. The woman with Josh was stunning, professional, clearly wealthy, and wearing an engagement ring that looked exactly like Emily's. Son of a bitch, Emily whispered. He's running the same play on multiple targets. The pieces were falling into place, but they needed more proof, more ammunition. As Ryan began pulling up financial records, Emily felt a strange mix of rage and relief. The man she thought she loved was a fiction, but at least she'd discovered the truth before saying, I do. Her phone buzzed again, a message from Rebecca, we need to talk again. There's something you need to see. Someone else has come forward. Emily showed the message to Ryan, whose face had gone pale. There's more victims out there, isn't there? We'll find them all, Emily promised, her voice hard with determination. And when we're done, Josh Crawford won't know what hit him. As they bent over the laptop, planning their next move, neither noticed the man at the end of the bar quickly typing on his phone, or the slight smile that crossed his face as he sent his message, boss, we might have a problem. Your fiancée just spent 2 hours with Ryan. And she doesn't look happy. Emily's fingertips brushed over the hidden phone she'd discovered in Josh's home office, her heart pounding against her ribs. She'd made an excuse to stop by his penthouse while he was stuck in investor meetings, knowing it might be her only chance to search freely. The device had been tucked inside a hollowed-out finance book, the kind of hiding place that seemed almost too obvious to a lawyer who'd prosecuted dozens of fraud cases. The screen lit up, and Emily's blood ran cold. The background was a photo of Josh with Melissa Porter at what appeared to be a private beach villa. The timestamp read 3 days ago. While he'd been telling Emily he was at a tech conference in Seattle, he'd actually been in what looked like the Maldives, planning their future with another woman. Got what you need? Ryan's voice came through her earpiece. He was parked down the street, watching for Josh's return. More than I expected, Emily murmured, quickly photographing the phone with her own device. There's a whole second life documented on here. Receipts, travel itineraries, photos. She paused, her throat tightening. He bought her the same engagement ring, Ryan. Exactly the same. Emily, we've got movement. Black Mercedes just turned onto the street. Her fingers flew over the hidden phone, downloading its contents to a secure cloud drive Ryan had set up. 90% complete. 95%. Footsteps in the hallway. Company's coming, Ryan warned. Get out now. The download finished just as a key turned in the lock. Emily slipped the phone back into its hiding place and grabbed her briefcase, her heart thundering. She was halfway to the kitchen when Josh walked in. Emily. His surprise seemed genuine, but she now recognized the calculated warmth in his smile. What are you doing here, beautiful? She held up a stack of papers she'd brought as cover. Thought I'd drop off the revised prenup for you to review. Your office said you were in meetings all day. Just wrapped up early. Josh crossed the room, pulling her into an embrace that made her skin crawl. I've missed you. Wedding planning keeping you too busy for your fiancé? Emily forced herself to smile, to lean into his kiss. Never too busy for you. But I should run, client meeting in 20 minutes. Stay, he murmured against her neck. The client can wait. For a moment, Emily was tempted to confront him right there. To pull out her phone and show him the evidence of his betrayal. Instead, she gave him another kiss, remembering Rebecca's warning about what happened to women who threatened Josh Crawford's plans. Rain check. She touched his cheek, noting how easily the lies now came to her lips. Dinner tomorrow? We can go over the prenup together. Josh's eyes flickered with something, suspicion. Concern. Before his smooth mask returned. Looking forward to it. Oh, by the way, have you talked to Ryan lately? He's been acting strange, missing meetings, asking questions about our Series B investors. Emily kept her expression neutral even as alarm bells rang in her head. Haven't seen him much. Wedding planning, you know how it is. She headed for the door, then paused. Actually, is everything okay with TechVault? You seem stressed about the investors. Everything's perfect. Josh's smile didn't reach his eyes. In fact, I've got a surprise for you. Been working on something special for the wedding. You're going to love it. The tension in his voice made Emily's skin prickle. As soon as she was in her car, she called Ryan. He knows something's up, she said without preamble. He's asking about you, about the investors. And he mentioned a surprise for the wedding. That's not all, Ryan's voice was tight. I just got a call from our security team. Someone tried to access TechVault's secure servers last night. They were looking for the original incorporation documents, the ones that would prove Rebecca's investment. Could they trace it? No, but here's the interesting part. The attempt came from an IP address registered to Morrison and Sterling. Emily's mind raced. Either Josh was trying to cover his tracks using her firm's network, or send me the exact time of the attempt. She hung up and dialed her IT department. This is Emily Matthews. I need to know who was logged into the system at 11:47 p.m. last night. The response made her grip the steering wheel tighter. Are you sure? Thank you. Her next call was to Rebecca. The incorporation documents you tried to access last night? Don't. They're watching the servers. How did you? Rebecca sighed. I had to try. Melissa Porter reached out to me. She's not just another victim, Emily. She's his partner. They've done this before, in other cities, with other companies. The woman you saw him with? That's not even the real Melissa. Emily pulled into the parking garage of her office building, her mind whirling. Meet me. Now. Bring everything you have on the real Melissa Porter. An hour later, Emily sat in her office, staring at the documents spread across her desk. The real Melissa Porter had been Josh's partner in 3 previous schemes. They'd target successful professional women, preferably ones with access to valuable business intelligence. Josh would romance them while Melissa gathered information. By the time their victims realized what had happened, the couple would be gone, along with millions in stolen funds and priceless insider information. Her phone buzzed, a text from Josh, "Can't stop thinking about you. 1 week until you're Mrs. Crawford. By the way, Ryan called. Seemed confused about some financial documents. Maybe he's drinking again. Might want to reconsider having him in the wedding." Emily's fingers tightened around her phone. Josh was trying to isolate her from Ryan, just as he'd done to his previous victims. But he'd made one crucial mistake: he'd underestimated what a corporate lawyer with unlimited resources and a broken heart was capable of. She opened her laptop, pulling up the files Ryan had sent. Property records, banking statements, surveillance photos. A pattern emerged: Josh and the real Melissa had left a trail across the country. They were good, but they'd gotten sloppy, confident in their success. Got it. Ryan burst into her office, waving a tablet. Found their next target. Another lawyer, family money, working on a major tech merger. They've already started grooming her. Emily stood, determination hardening her features. Contact her. And find me everything about Josh's surprise wedding plans. I've got a feeling we're running out of time. As if on cue, her phone lit up with another message from Josh, actually, about dinner tomorrow. I want to show you something special. Meet me at the Fairmont penthouse instead. I've got the surprise of your life waiting. Emily looked at Ryan, whose face had gone pale. The Fairmont penthouse is where he took Rebecca the night before he cleaned out her accounts. Well, Emily said, reaching for her briefcase, I think it's time we gave Josh Crawford a surprise of our own. She pulled out a small recording device, her eyes glinting with determination. Call everyone. Rebecca, the other victims, your contact at the SEC, tomorrow night, we end this. But as she began preparing for her final confrontation with Josh, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something crucial. Something in the way he'd smiled when mentioning his surprise. Something that suggested Josh Crawford might have a few more tricks up his sleeve, and this time, the stakes were higher than just money. The Fairmont penthouse suite gleamed with old-world luxury, San Francisco's lights twinkling beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. Emily stood in the entrance, her recorder safely hidden, wearing the exact dress Josh had first complimented her in at a charity gala 2 years ago. Everything had to seem perfect, normal, expected. You look stunning. Josh appeared from the terrace, champagne flutes in hand. He'd chosen her favorite vintage, another calculated detail she now recognized for what it was. I've been looking forward to this all day. What's the occasion? Emily accepted the champagne, not drinking. Besides the obvious wedding countdown. Josh's smile was practiced perfection. Can't a man surprise his future wife? He guided her toward the terrace. Actually, I wanted to discuss some changes to our future plans. Exciting changes. Emily's phone buzzed in her clutch, their agreed-upon signal that everyone was in position. Ryan and Rebecca were in a suite 2 floors down with the SEC agents. 3 other victims were standing by with local police. The real Melissa Porter's location had been traced to a private airfield outside the city. Changes? Emily kept her voice light, curious. What kind of changes? Josh set his glass down, taking both her hands in his. I've been thinking about your career, your dedication to the law. What if I told you there was a way to take everything you've built and multiply it tenfold? I'm listening. She was, but not to his words, to the subtle sounds of movement from within the suite, the almost imperceptible click of a door. Tech Vault's not just a security company anymore. We're expanding, moving into financial technology, data analytics. With your client list and my connections. He squeezed her hands. We could build an empire, Emily. Together. Like you built with Rebecca Chen. The words hung in the air between them. Josh's smile flickered but didn't fade. Rebecca? My unstable ex who tried to claim credit for my company. Ancient history, beautiful. And Melissa Porter? Is she ancient history too? This time, his smile vanished completely. I see Ryan's been talking. I warned him about dragging up old business disputes. Business disputes? Emily pulled her hands away. Is that what you call stealing $850,000? Or setting up shell companies to launder money? Or planning to use my firm's client information for insider trading? Josh's expression hardened. I really hoped we wouldn't have to do this the hard way. He reached for his phone. Melissa, now. Nothing happened. Looking for your partner? Emily pulled out her own phone, showing him a live security feed. She's currently having an interesting conversation with FBI agents at that private airfield you booked. Did you really think I wouldn't find out about all of it, Josh? His laugh was cold, unfamiliar. Find out what? That I'm ambitious. That I know how to spot opportunities. Everything I did was legal, technically. Just ask your lawyer friends. That's why I asked the SEC instead. Emily nodded toward the suite's entrance, where 2 federal agents appeared. They're very interested in those shell companies you've been using. And in your pattern of targeting women for their business connections. Josh's hand shot out, grabbing her arm. You have no idea what you're dealing with. One phone call and every client your firm has will know about your involvement in a federal investigation. Your reputation, your career, everything you've worked for, gone. Actually, Ryan's voice cut through the tension as he stepped onto the terrace, the only reputation being destroyed tonight is yours. Emily smiled coldly. Did you really think I'd come alone? That I'd trust you again after finding your hidden phone? The identical engagement rings? The fake Melissa playing your devoted fiancé while the real one worked your schemes in other cities? Josh's grip tightened. You're making a mistake. We could have had everything. The only mistake, Emily twisted free, her voice steel, was thinking you could outsmart a woman who prosecutes fraud for a living. The SEC has everything, the shell companies, the stolen funds, the insider trading plans. Rebecca and your other victims are downstairs, ready to testify. It's over, Josh. He lunged for the terrace railing, perhaps thinking he could reach the fire escape, but Ryan was faster. In seconds, Josh Crawford, tech wunderkind and serial fraudster, was face down on imported marble tiles as federal agents read him his rights. You okay? Ryan touched Emily's shoulder gently. She nodded, watching as Josh was led away. I just need a minute. On the terrace alone, Emily finally let her hands shake, let the adrenaline crash through her system. Her phone lit up with a message from Rebecca, we did it. The others want to meet you. When you're ready. Emily took a deep breath of cool night air. Below, she could see police lights reflecting off building windows, reporters already gathering. Tomorrow, the story would break, rising tech star arrested in fraud scheme. Her name would be in the articles, her firm's reputation potentially at risk. But as she turned to head downstairs, she caught Ryan watching her through the glass doors, concern and something else in his eyes. The same look she'd seen at the hotel bar, now unburdened by guilt or secrecy. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was her mother. Just saw the news alert. Are you alright? Do you need me to come over? Emily smiled slightly, typing back, I'm okay. Having dinner with friends. I'll call you tomorrow. She grabbed her clutch and walked back into the suite, where Ryan waited. The other victims are meeting at that wine bar you mentioned. The one with the great cheese plate. Lead the way, Ryan said softly. As they walked to the elevator, Emily realized her engagement ring was still on her finger. She slipped it off, studying it one last time before dropping it into her clutch. Tomorrow would bring challenges, press inquiries, client concerns, wedding cancellations. But tonight was for healing, for sharing stories with other survivors of Josh's schemes, for maybe exploring that look in Ryan's eyes. The elevator doors closed on the Fairmont penthouse, and Emily felt lighter than she had in weeks. She'd lost a fiancé but found her strength, her voice, and possibly something more genuine than anything Josh had ever offered. Her phone buzzed one final time, an email notification. Subject line, Melissa Porter agrees to turn state's evidence. Emily smiled. The night wasn't over yet. 6 months later, Emily sat in her corner office, watching fog roll across the San Francisco Bay. The morning's Wall Street Journal lay open on her desk. Tech Vault fraud case ends in conviction, Josh Crawford sentenced to 15 years. Below the headline was a photo of Josh being led from the courthouse, his confident smile finally shattered. She picked up her coffee mug, a gag gift from Ryan that read, "Trust your instincts, not your ex," and smiled at how much had changed. The scandal had initially rocked Morrison and Sterling, but Emily's meticulous documentation and proactive handling of the situation had turned potential disaster into a triumph. The firm now had a specialized division focusing on tech-related fraud cases, with Emily at the helm. "Ms. Matthews?" Her assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Rebecca Chen is here for your meeting." Emily straightened her blazer, a different woman from the one who'd received that fateful envelope in this same office half a year ago. "Send her in." Rebecca looked transformed as well, confident, relaxed, successful. She'd used her recovered funds and experience to start a consulting firm helping companies verify potential investors and partners. "Just saw the news," Rebecca said, settling into a chair. 15 years seems light, considering. "The money trail helped," Emily replied. Once Melissa started talking, everything unraveled. She got 7 years in exchange for her cooperation. The real surprise was finding 3 more victims in Chicago and Boston. "Have you heard from him?" Emily shook her head. "His lawyers tried to negotiate a settlement last month. Wanted me to speak at his sentencing, say it was all a misunderstanding." She laughed softly. "I sent them the recording from the Fairmont instead." Speaking of recordings, Rebecca pulled out her tablet. "My firm's been analyzing communication patterns in tech startups. We're seeing similar red flags in at least 2 other companies. Thought you might be interested." They spent the next hour reviewing data, identifying potential fraud schemes, discussing preventive measures. It was gratifying work, turning their shared trauma into something productive, helping other women avoid similar traps. "Drinks later?" Rebecca asked as she gathered her things. "The others would love to see you. Sarah's finally starting to date again, and Lisa just got promoted to CFO." "I'll try to make it," Emily said. "Depends on how long my dinner meeting runs." Rebecca's knowing smile made Emily blush slightly. "Dinner meeting. Right. Tell Ryan I said hi. After Rebecca left, Emily found herself staring at the framed newspaper article on her wall, the first coverage of Josh's arrest. It had been a media circus at first. Gold digger accusations, victim-blaming headlines, tech brothers defending Josh on social media. But as more victims came forward, as the evidence mounted, the narrative had shifted. Now they were being hailed as whistleblowers who'd exposed systemic fraud in the startup world. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ryan, court adjourned early. Still on for dinner? Found a new place in North Beach you'll love. Emily smiled, remembering their first real date 3 months ago. They'd taken things slow, both aware of the complexities, the potential gossip. But there was something genuine between them, built on trust and shared experience rather than manipulation and hidden agendas. Looking forward to it, she typed back. Just finishing up with Rebecca. She says hi. She turned to her computer, intending to clear a few more emails before leaving, when a news alert caught her eye. Exclusive, former TechVault CEO planning tell-all book from prison. Emily laughed out loud. Let him write whatever he wanted. She had the truth, documented in recordings and bank statements and testimony. More importantly, she had herself back, stronger, wiser, unwilling to ignore red flags for the sake of a perfect on-paper relationship. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a group text from the other victims. They'd started calling themselves the Fraudsters Club in dark humor. Lisa had shared a photo from their last meeting, all of them laughing over wine, survivors turned sisters. Missing our favorite legal eagle tonight. But we expect details about this Ryan situation soon. Emily smiled, gathering her things to leave. She had a dinner to get to, a life to live, a future unencumbered by lies. The engagement ring Josh had given her had been sold, the money donated to a nonprofit helping women in tech. Her corner office now faced east instead of west. She'd requested the change, wanting to watch the sunrise rather than the sunset. New beginnings over endings. As she waited for the elevator, Emily caught her reflection in the polished doors. The woman staring back wasn't a victim or even just a survivor. She was a warrior who turned betrayal into victory, pain into purpose. The elevator chimed, and she stepped in, ready for whatever came next. Her phone lit up one final time, another news alert, tech investment fraud on the rise, what you need to know. Emily smiled, already mentally composing her next lecture for the fraud prevention series she'd started. There would always be men like Josh Crawford, spinning dreams and stealing futures. But there would also always be women like her, like Rebecca, like all the others, women who fought back, who rebuilt, who turned their scars into shields for others. The elevator doors opened to the lobby, where Ryan waited, leaning against a column with 2 coffee cups. Their eyes met, and Emily felt that now familiar warmth in her chest, not the dizzy infatuation Josh had inspired, but something steadier, truer. Ready? He asked, holding out her favorite afternoon tea. Emily took the cup, her fingers brushing his. More than ever. Together, they walked out into the San Francisco evening, leaving the past behind in that corner office high above the bay. Ahead lay dinner, and tomorrow, and all the days after, each one a chance to trust again, but this time, to trust wisely.